Hello, my dear friends at YouTube at Joy Based Living. I want to talk today about how many times one's bubble needs to be popped, how many times you have to pop other people's bubbles. When somebody's going through healing from emotional abuse, there's a lot of backsliding that happens because of training that they went through when they were being traumatized that caused them to experience toxic loyalty or trauma bond or Stockholm syndrome. You can look up any of those terms, and there's a lot of good information out there now about that. So I want to give you a very practical example of how this can be so frustrating, whether you're actually healing or you are helping other people through their healing process. You could be a therapist or a coach, or you could be a friend going, I just saw last week, they just told me they were really clear that this person is really predictably abusive. But then they were nice for a moment. Now they're back again, and the person's like buying right into it. And you're just kind of like, why are they doing that again? Why are they buying in again, again, again? And one of the frustrating things is when you've been through emotional abuse and you've become the kind of person who's like really optimistic, positive, kind, loving, generous, you don't want to be the bubble burster. You don't want to be the killjoy. But if somebody's paying you to tell them the truth, or somebody is in a relationship with you where you have a commitment to tell each other the truth and to be honest about what's going on and what you see. I've been working with somebody for about a year and a half, and wonderful person, definitely open to growing and learning and being coachable. And there was this one person she kept bringing up that was in her workplace, and she would tell me stories about their interactions, and she would always say she's a really good friend of mine. And so my take on that when somebody says that to me is, that's her territory. Be respectful. Just stay open to whatever she has to say. I don't have an agenda. I want her to have as much support as she can at work. So I don't have an agenda about whether she is friends with this person or not. I don't have another motive besides the person I'm working with for her well-being. I like to use the word co-author. We are co-authoring her well-being. And so she would tell me a story of something that this person did that would put a little red flag in my little noggin, and I have a really good memory. And so then the next time we would talk, she would go, oh yeah, now we're going to do this project together. And I'm like, and now my noggin starts getting noodly. Isn't this a person you just said who did blah, 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 and they're not really trustworthy? And when you do a project with somebody, if you're going to do it well, you want to, I call it all balls in. You want to just go in with them. Well, that requires trust. So, then it would happen again. Then it would happen again. Then it would happen again. And so I started sending her from other relationships in her life. I had already started talking with her about emotional abuse. I'm not using the N-word. If you want to see my blog posts about that and previous videos, you can look into that. But I'm calling it emotional abuse now. It's a misuse of a power dynamic is what it is. I started sending her a lot of literature and information about it, and she started navigating other relationships more successfully. So she was getting like, oh yeah, this is important. This works. She started popping out of denial in these other areas where she had previously been, I call it malignant loyalty, toxic loyalty. She started breaking those bonds, and those people started getting kind of like angry with her. So anyway, fast forward a little bit, with this person at work, I noticed after months, I was still having to pop the bubble. And it was frustrating for me until I learned how much that's part of healing from C-PTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I like when some people were saying complex post-traumatic stress recovery, because that's really what this is. That's way more empowering. Um, I've also heard it said that if complex post-traumatic stress disorder was really in the big fat DSM book, um, that it would turn into a pamphlet. I was like, yes, that's so cool. Hey, this is what's needing to be healed. So anyway, so here's where the story flipped around was she started doing what she needed to do to protect herself in the workplace. And she was doing a lot of the right things and got support and from people in that workplace, and it very appropriately did it really well. And then this person started like trying to create damage because she didn't like that my person was now not buying in. She was no longer giving her all this like positive attention and admiration. She had pulled back a lot. She had stopped. Well, now what's happening is she is having to pop the bubble of other people in the workplace. She's now in the position of some of her coworkers navigating relationships with this woman who has toxic behaviors. And she's having to find a ground inside of herself that has integrity, where she's not gossiping and she's not giving information that people aren't asking for, but she's offering a heads up. So I'm not going to give you right now like specific advice around that. I think every situation, every person that she speaks to is going to be a different conversation. But the one thing she's also having to protect herself against is when she says to, when somebody within that circle says to her, to my person, says to her, well, you know that person, the toxic person, she's really nice. She means well. And that moment can sometimes feel like the carpet is being pulled from under your feet. It can feel so invalidating if you are alone in the experience. So I want to end with like maybe some suggestions for empowering yourself, empowering your joy, and so that you can take inspired action is get support. Now that this conversation is starting to like become wider and wider, find people that you resonate with who are also in this kind of conversation, and they're not looking for shortcuts. They're not looking for games. They're not looking for metaphysical mumbo jumbo. I've told you before, I know I can do spirit releasement. I can do past life regression. I can do hypnosis. I can talk to crystals. I've been down that road. Those techniques, I don't have anything against them, but they can become a lot of sideshows. And there is no shortcut to taking ownership of yourself. There is no shortcut to reclaiming your sense of reality, which was systematically over and over again under duress taken from you. So get support, get educated, learn about emotional literacy, do the practices. It's like a workout. And what we're doing at Joy-Based Living within our inner circle, we're working out. It's like Gold's Gym for like emotional well-being. And we have people who really see our authenticity and our truth as our highest calling. Not that we're always perfect at telling the complete truth to ourselves or to others, especially if we're in denial. But we all really have those values that we really, really care about that. Find places and people where you can do that. And I guess what I'm saying here is if you've experienced a lot of invalidation, find validation. You can do it. You're worth it. It might feel like it's really far away from you. You might feel really alone and alienated and isolated. No, you're not. You can do this. You can find this. I believe in you. I will end with, I celebrate you empowering your joy and taking inspired action. Me and everybody at Joy Based Living are right behind you, standing with you and cheering you on. Keep going. Bye for now.